Also,
You've recorded from that.
I'm gonna wait until you like get closer to starting. As we commence.
I know that was. This is,
Alright.
takes a bit for it to actually start recording.
Macy, what was the topic?
Why schools should not be feared but embraced.
All right, audience, are you ready? Macy, are you ready?
Sure.
And proceed.
1,815. That's how many days, according to Minnesota state standard, students are required to sit in a desk from grades 1st through 11th grade. Now, it's reasonable to believe that in those 10 years, students experience some type of academic anxiety, meaning that there is a fear surrounding school. But is it the fear of school, or is it the fear of failure? This is why school should not be feared, but embraced. But to understand why school is feared, you also have to understand why it should be embraced. But to pick apart this question, the first thing that's going to be discussed is why school is feared. School is feared, and it leads to academic procrastination. The 198 students at the University of Isfahan in Iran did a t-test showing the correlation between two groups using statistical differences. And in this t-test, Educational Sciences Theory and Practice from June 17th, 2020 says male students compared to females scored higher in academic procrastination. Female students compared to male students scored higher in fear of failure and organizing, meaning not only is fear of failure and academic procrastination part of the effect, but it's also organization. Their organization is lacking, meaning that their education can lead to chaos. It can make them scared to continue further because they're failing. But in order to understanding why it is feared, how do you fix it? The first step is acceptance. Learning how to accept the fact that failing is part of learning. You're not put on this earth with the knowledge of everything. Knowledge is earned and learned. As Deborah Ziller says from 2020, say yes to the situation, meaning to push yourself outside of your comfort zone so that way it's easier to accept the situation when you fail. The Harvard Business Review has four subtopics that they suggest in order to overcome the fear of failure. Redefine, avoidance goals, creating a fear list, and focusing on learning. When they say redefine the word fear, what they mean is the word fear has these emotions that are attached to it, that follow it everywhere it goes, meaning anxiety and stress. If you can find a way to flip that around so anxiety and stress are not the emotions that follow, such as maybe enticement, the idea that you want to overcome it, that is addicting. The second is the avoidance of avoidance goals. And as it sounds, well, there are two different types of goals, avoidance goals and approach goals. And as their names suggest, avoidance goals are when you have a subject, it's to go around it, to not even touch the subject that is feared. But approach goals is to meet the subject head on. So that way the subject has to be approached and to overcome it. Harvard Business Review from December 10th, 2018 says psychologists have found that creating approach goals or positively reframing avoidance goals is beneficial for well-being. When you're dreading a tough task and expect it to be difficult and unpleasant, You may subconsciously set goals around what you don't want to happen rather than what you do want. The third is a fear list. When they say create a fear list, it's as it sounds. You create a list of everything that is feared. But when you write it down, it's harder to just ignore the fear when it comes around. It creates the environment that the student has to face the fear head on. And the fourth is to focus on learning. When they're saying focusing on learning, it's as horses do when they have blinders on, so that way they have to focus on their path versus the environment around them. You can apply that to focusing on learning, so that way the environment around you doesn't instill fear on the student, and focus on the learning, so that way your learning isn't affected by the fear. Now that the idea of how to overcome the fear of failure and why school is feared, it is important to understand that that kids should be able to utilize this at a young age, so that way kids don't have to learn it later on and possibly fail, because it's harder to teach a dog new tricks the later it is. There are four ways to overcome the fear of failure: to avoid or redefine avoidance goals of fearless and focusing on learning, as well as acceptance. And that there are many ways and reasons that school is feared, but school should not be feared, but embraced. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I have to upload these.
Yes, it is.
No, don't do the dumb thing, you did the dumb thing. We lose the pace, the instant you try to scroll.
But they're not comparing.
This keeps happening.
You get notifications from the middle of your speech and they kept like, hey, down from the top, I'm like, just trying really hard. I mean, I figured out how not to get distracted.
No.
Because we didn't.
Talk to Griffin about how he did his last time. Well, she, no, her video didn't. I don't remember when you did that for the.
Oh,
I
yeah,
wonder if your thing falls
So-
asleep.
you gotta like send it.
I'm gonna have to give her my copy.
Oh, okay, wait, because
Yeah,
my settings on my iPad are so it doesn't fall asleep.
Tell you what, so I have a smaller file. I'm gonna stop this here.